Welcome. Good morning and happy Father's Day. I can try this again. Good morning. Welcome to Unity Church and happy Father's Day. My name is Ari Giles, and I am joined on the chancel today by Veronica Nordeng DeVillez. We are so grateful that you are here to share this with us. If you are a visitor and you'd like to know more about Unity, please fill out a card found in the backs of the pews and drop it into the offering basket as it passes you. If you are interested in attending an informational session, Finding Yourself at Unity, after today's service, the topic this week will be a building tour. In the garden today, our children will hear a story about siblings with a rhubarb leaf lesson and a treat. Rhubarb will be available for congregants to take home. Donations are greatly accepted. Today we'll be telling you stories, creating some new folklore within the forest of our community and pulling at threads found within Michael Kleber-Diggs' poem, Coniferous Fathers. Veronica and I reflected very hard on how best to approach this holiday. And as two women, it felt like it could be a difficult needle to thread. But we love the stories that we are going to tell you and are excited to share them with you today. We will begin with the pealing of our bell. Let each ring bring yourself and center yourself into this space, opening you and settling you. Let the sound resonate and pull you towards the stories you hold, and let them intermingle with the tales that resound and reverberate around the sanctuary. Coniferous Fathers by Michael Kleber-Diggs. Let's fashion gentle fathers, expressive, holding us how we wanted to be held before we could ask, singing off-key lullabies written for us, songs every evening like possibilities, fathers who say, "This is how you hold a baby," saying then nothing in the moment, just bringing us to our chests, to their chests naturally, without shyness. Let's grow fathers from pine, coniferous fathers raising us in their shade, fathers soft enough to bend, fathers who love us like their fathers couldn't. Fathers who can talk about menstruation while playing a game of pepper in the yard. Let's discover fathers as varied and vast as the superior forest. Give us fathers of laughter and fathers who cry. Fathers who say, "Check this out," or "I'm scared," or "I'm sorry," or "I don't know." Give us fathers strong enough to admit they want to be near us. They've always wanted to be near us. Give us fathers desperate for something different. No more Rolling Stones. Let's create folklore, side by side in a garden, singing psalms about abiding, being steadfast, present, evergreen, and ethereal. Let's make the old needles soft enough for us to rest on, dream on, next to them. Please join with me the words found in your order of service as we light our chalice together. We light this flames as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth, and the warmth of love. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 352, Finding the Stillness. Let me tell you a story. Back in the days when the boundaries between us were different, the kestrel and the kingfisher met and fell in love. After passing 3 trials together, they decided they were well matched and started their life as partners. A short time later, they had a child who they named Magpie. They spent a long time discussing how to raise Magpie. They knew that any child they brought into this world would meet difficulties and obstacles they themselves knew not how to overcome. The world was changing around them quickly, and many things were being renegotiated. They wanted to give Magpie the best chances at thriving amongst this change. So they decided that the best way to do so would be to build trust. They wanted Magpie to be able to trust them, and they wanted her to be able to trust herself. They also wanted Magpie to know that Kestrel and Kingfisher trusted all of Magpie's decisions. They made sure that Magpie would know that opposites often exist together and in an intermingled state. Arrogance and humility, giving and receiving, joy and sorrow, roses and thorns. All of these things needed balance, especially in our relationships with others. They also needed balance within ourselves, for if we do not meet ourselves fully, we are unable to meet others with the same openness. Through the years, Kestrel and Kingfisher encountered all sorts of ordeals while raising Magpie. Some brought them closer to her, some closer to each other, and all allowed them to know themselves better. I would like to tell you a couple of these stories today. This is the first. When Magpie was very young, Kestrel and Kingfisher placed her with others her age to begin her education. The children would do various activities together under the watchful eye of their teachers. One day, while the summer fields were full of wildflowers, the teachers decided to take their flock to the meadows to create wreaths in celebration of the colors blooming around them. Kingfisher, who had never participated in such an activity, asked to join. Now, Kingfisher was hesitant to try new activities, especially ones that included creativity. However, the opportunity to spend time with Magpie helped mediate his fear, for spending time with Magpie was something that Kingfisher loved to do. On the appointed day, Kingfisher flew over to the meadow to meet the teachers and their flock, with Magpie amongst them. The teachers sat the children in a large circle so they could build their wreaths together. Kingfisher sat next to Magpie, and both began to work. Now, all of the children were quite young, and were at the stage where they had more energy than concentration. And soon, one by one, they left the circle after doing some work on their wreath to do other things, until only Kingfisher and Magpie were left. Magpie was immersed in adding all sorts of flowers to her wreath. Even at this young age, she loved collecting and displaying objects, and held little compunction when adding goldenrod and coneflower and fleabane to her ever-growing bouquet. Kingfisher was more cautious, approaching the task methodically, first starting with his favorite flower, bird's foot trefoil. After a while, Kingfisher looked up from concentrating on his wreath and realized that Magpie was no longer next to him. Instead, she was 2 places over, adding black-eyed Susans to a classmate's wreath. Once she was done filling up that wreath, she got up and went to the next one, examining it, and then adding cornflowers and Joe Pye weed. "Why are you adding flowers to their wreaths, Magpie?" Kingfisher asked. "Well, they aren't finished," she said. "I'm finishing them." Kingfisher was surprised and uncertain. Though the other children were running around and playing games, he wondered if they would come back to their wreaths soon and want to finish them themselves. "Should you be adding flowers to their wreaths, Magpie?" he asked, prying farther. "Well, why not?" she asked. Kingfisher was starting to worry and was wondering if he should tell Magpie that this wasn't a good idea. Kingfisher had always been cautious. It was more in his nature to ask for permission than to seek forgiveness. Magpie, on the other hand, was already 2/3 around the way of the circle and was clearly not going to stop anytime soon. "Magpie, maybe we should do something else," Kingfisher said, thinking of how to distract her. He didn't want to yell at her. He didn't want to tell her to stop, but he really wasn't sure that this was a good idea. But while Kingfisher was slowly panicking about how angry the other children would be by Magpie fixing their art projects, he remembered what he and Kestrel talked about when Magpie was born about trust. And he was glad that he was here to help Magpie when all of the other children got mad at her for changing their wreaths. He started to plan in his head what he would talk to her about and how to help her negotiate their anger. He would explain that apologies are necessary when you make mistakes. As he was in the midst of his worrying, Magpie had gone around the circle and finished all of the other children's wreaths. One of the teachers had come back to check on them, telling Magpie that if she was finished, she was welcome to go play with the other children. When she flew off, Kingfisher asked the teacher if it was right or wrong that Magpie had changed all the wreaths. The teacher laughed. "We try not to be too rigorous in telling the children if we think their actions are good or bad. They have relationships with one another that change from day to day. Today, what she did was fine. Her creativity was being fostered in a way that wasn't necessary for the other children. But tomorrow, the same thing might not be true. And then we will work on how to have conflict in a way that deepens their connection instead of pushing them apart."
Intimate attachments to other human beings are the hub around which a person's life revolves, not only as an infant or a toddler or a school child, but throughout adolescence and years of maturity as well, and on to old age. From these intimate attachments, a person draws strength and enjoyment of life, and through what he contributes, gives strength and enjoyment to others. These are matters about which current science and traditional wisdom are at one. These are words from a 1980 book by psychiatrist John Bowlby, the father of attachment theory. In the 1950s, Bowlby's theory of connection as a biological need was initially rejected, but it has now become central to our understanding of human psychology. A caregiver is a child's safe haven and a secure base. When children leave the safety of their caregiver, they need support in their exploration. As they experience life, they need to be watched over, delighted in, helped, and enjoyed. When the child returns to the safe haven, they seek protection, comfort, and joy, and they need help with organizing their feelings. This cycle repeats throughout a lifetime. And as long as the caregiver responds to the child's needs, most of the time it builds a healthy, secure attachment that becomes a deep well of self-esteem, health, and resilience to life's challenges. Imagine the caregiver as a tree. This tree's shade provides a boundary of safety. Contained within this shade is my child's entire world. As my child grows, I grow, and this shade expands. This shade is not a shelter from all hardship, but a place to safely explore the unknown. This security allows my child to take risks and to make mistakes. My child will always find me at the edge of the shade. We are all still that child inside. What do we need from others? What do others need from us? How will we share our joy and our strength?
Every Sunday, when we gather together, we set aside time to acknowledge the joys and sorrows found within ourselves and our community, and to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. We mark this time with our singing bowl. As it rings, let its resonance meet your soul and help it to hold that which we cannot carry alone. Together, we recognize the cycle of life and death, the circle of love, compassion, and witness that is at the center of this and every sacred community. From among our community today, we hold Remy Eichten, daughter of Pauline Eichten, in our care. Remy is suffering from extreme pain from a herniated disc, which has required hospitalization this week. Remy and Pauline welcome the loving embrace of this congregation as Remy receives the medical care necessary for her recovery. Messages of encouragement would be helpful and appreciated. On any given Sunday, among us are those with fresh grief of a loved one's illness or death, and those living with chronic pain and illnesses, seen and unseen, of body, mind, and spirit. We hold all in our care. We lift in our supportive embrace parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children. We pray for our neighbors in prison and those who care for loved ones in ill health, no longer present as they once were. Those who struggle with loneliness, and those who strive to stay afloat amongst poverty, and those living with addiction one day at a time. Our lives are blessed by those who knowingly and with curiosity and courage face their final days, and by those who rise above heartbreak to carry on the work of ending oppression in all its forms. We celebrate with all who come through these doors with joy in their hearts, celebrating anniversaries, graduations, or eating with relish that perfectly ripe summer berry. Because this is a house of joy, and laughter is the sound of a thriving community. We now join together in lifting into our communal embrace the joys and sorrows on your heart this day. Please speak into this shared silence the names of those you are holding this morning. As we meet each other this Sunday, we are also met by the continuing escalation of violence in our wider world and within our Minnesota community. We hold those who are being denied the due process promised by our laws. We witness what is happening, and we remain committed to resisting the erosion of principle and the misuse of power. We hold those who are raising their voices against unilateral actions that harm the most vulnerable among us. We recognize the courage it takes to show up, to protest, to make signs, to speak out, to decide how much can be risked. These are acts of resistance, large and small, and they help bend the arc of the universe once again towards justice. We hold the family of Melissa and Mark Hortman, killed yesterday morning in their home, leaving behind 2 children. This tragic act of gun violence and the targeting of our public servants shakes us deeply, adding to the grief and fear already present in our community. We also hold the people of Tehran and Tel Aviv, and all those whose lives are caught in the crossfire of geopolitical conflict. Among the rubble lie family photos, dinner plates, favorite shirts, and irreplaceable lives. Each of these tragedies touch us in ways we cannot always predict. They enter us and they change us. Letting our hearts break and break again is not easy. How can we possibly hold all the grief and gravity of the world, even as we tend to the everyday joys and sorrows of our own lives? And yet we try. Together we try. Would you join with me in prayer? Today I turn to the poet Rainer Maria Rilke. In times like these, I find myself returning to his book that accompanied me through an earlier season of transformation, Letters to a Young Poet. In it, he writes about joy, sorrow, and the mysterious ways they shape and change us. If it were possible for us to see further than our own knowledge reaches, and yet a little beyond our intuitions, perhaps we would then bear our sorrows with greater trust than we do our joys. For these are the moments when something new enters us, something unknown. Our feelings go silent, and everything within us steps back. A quiet arises, and this new thing that no one knows stands revealed in our midst, hushed. Almost all our sorrows are moments of tension that we fear might cripple us because we are now alone with a strangeness that has appeared. Everything trusted and familiar is, for a moment, taken from us, and we find ourselves caught in what we cannot stop. That is also why the sorrow can pass. The new in us, that which has come towards us, has now entered our heart in its innermost chamber and is now in our blood. And we have not yet learned what it is. One could easily convince us that nothing has happened, yet we have changed, as a house changes when a guest enters. We cannot say what has arrived, and we may never know. But there are many indications that the future enters us in just this way, to transform itself within us long before it happens. That is why it is so important to be attentive when you are sad, because the seemingly uneventful moment when our future steps in is so much closer to life than any loud occurrence that happens. The more patient, quiet, and open we are towards sorrow, the deeper and truer does the new move into us and become our fate. Then, when it happens, we recognize it as already related to us. And now, in the stillness of this sanctuary, let us enter into a time of shared silence, to reflect, to remember, and to listen for the stirrings of the Spirit within. Let it be so, and amen. Please rise with me. We are going to sing a reprise of our opening hymn, which is number 352, Finding a Stillness. Let me tell you a story. When Magpie had almost come of age, she got into a terrible fight with Kestrel. From her mother, Magpie inherited a stubbornness and certainty that often put them in conflict with one another. Kingfisher would usually let the two fight, then go and talk to each of them to help find a way forward. Therefore, it was rare that the two would disagree for longer than a day. However, this fight was different. Magpie decided that she wanted to make a permanent alteration to her body for her coming-of-age ceremony. Though neither Kingfisher nor Kestrel were opposed to the change, Kestrel wanted to make sure that Magpie's health and safety were priorities. So Kestrel insisted that Magpie go to a healer to make the change. Magpie and Kestrel searched and searched for a healer that would help them, but none would do so. It was not considered a medical procedure, so none of the healers were willing. Magpie was not that surprised by this, but she was frustrated. She knew that healers wouldn't help them, but she also knew that Kestrel wouldn't like going to the person who could perform the alteration, a witch. Kestrel was methodical and trusted the training that healers went through, and though she had no problem with witches, she was hesitant to trust them, especially when it came to her own child. So Kestrel told Magpie that if she wanted this change to happen without a healer present, she would have to wait until she was an adult, which was after the coming-of-age ceremony had passed. Kestrel figured that once Magpie had left the nest, whatever choices she made were her own. She could choose to trust whomever she wanted, but until then, Kestrel and Kingfisher were responsible for her. This infuriated Magpie. This was a change that she wanted to help celebrate this transition in her life. It felt like Kestrel was ready to celebrate Magpie's adulthood, but wasn't willing to treat her like one. The fight went on for a day, then a week, then a month, neither moving in their position. Kingfisher was worried about both of them. He could see all sides of the argument. He knew that he and Kestrel saw Magpie as fully fledged, that she was soon to be moving in spaces where they knew no one. And they trusted her to make the best decisions in whatever place or situation she found herself in. But he also saw what his partner did. She was their child, and no harm should come to her. So when the fight drew close to the 3rd-month mark, he went to Kestrel. "Do you trust me?" he asked. "Of course," Kestrel answered. "I am going to take Magpie to the witch. I understand that you may disagree, but I think we should allow her to make these choices for herself. I want us to move together with her into this new time of life and respect that her way of celebrating this change includes altering her body." He and Kestrel compromised, and so Kingfisher and Magpie went to visit the witch. The witch was firm with Magpie, and she needed to hear all of the things that Magpie was certain about. She questioned Magpie if she was ready and had thought fully about this decision. She told her all of the care that needed to happen to maintain the changes she was interested in. Magpie promised that she had taken all of these things into consideration. and that she would take care of herself and her body, and that this was something she had wanted for a very long time, far longer than she had even admitted to Kestrel or Kingfisher. On their way home, Magpie asked Kingfisher why he went against Kestrel's decision. He thought for a while before answering. I wasn't sure it was the right thing to do. I wasn't sure if I should take you to the witch. I agree with Kestrel about your safety. But when you were little, we trusted that when you made a mistake, that you would learn from it. We let you make those mistakes because it was important for you to grow. But now, we need to trust you, even if it feels like we're the ones making the mistake.
When I first met my husband, he was a stoic guy, and he had no experience with children. Now he's a dad and still rather serious, but he is finding his silly side. As we parent our daughter together, we grow as people, parents, and partners, finding our strength and learning how to support and complement each other. For the first few years of parenthood, we depended solely on his income, a burden he had been prepared to carry through societal messaging, as most cis men are. That he expected to have to manage. What he didn't expect was that those long hours would be a barrier from being able to bond with his child. Dad wanted to connect with his baby, but he didn't know how because he couldn't afford to take time off work to learn skills needed in order to be able to spend time with a baby. Like in the past, dads are still needed as financial providers, but today they are also rightfully being expected to learn the role of caregiver too. My husband, John, with courage and vulnerability, has expanded his limits to do it all. He is building a beautiful relationship with our child. As their connection deepens, she learns to rely on him in new ways. And I'm able to see how her relationship with Dad is different from her relationship with me. We both respond to different needs, and sharing the load creates a richer family. Now that she is old enough for school, we can both work. He is now responsible for a greater share of childcare, and their relationship has blossomed. The 5-year-old's latest favorite game is pretend to beat up Dad, or pretend to eat Dad, in order to get his attention. The kid's way of inviting a wrestling match. At first, John asked me, "Why does this kid just want to fight me all the time? She must not like me very much." Well, I don't know, but she seems happy and calm afterwards, so it must meet some sort of need for her. Shrug. This dynamic between father and daughter extends conversationally as well, with her questioning and arguing with him much more than she ever does with me. I'm proud of my husband for shrugging it off and not engaging in a power struggle to protect his ego. However, he was conflicted about his ability to meet her needs. He's now gotten pretty savvy dealing with her. He handles her protests with a respectful back and forth negotiation, honoring her autonomy, never expecting compliance because I said so. He's learning to be silly, and it's very sweet getting a glimpse of my husband as a little boy. He's even enjoying role-playing as the bully, really embracing the role of the villain whenever told to be the monster or the big bear. One day I mentioned it, pointing out what I assumed must be resignation. I said, I noticed you're no longer attempting to de-escalate this Karate Kid's invite to fight. His unexpected response made this feminist mama's heart skip a beat. Without hesitation, he replied, well, I realized that maybe she needs me to be her adversary. What do you mean? I asked. He explained, because she is going to need practice now if she's going to grow up ready to fight the man later. Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan, for being the practice adversary. Happy Father's Day. In every moment, there are many stories happening, shaping the lives of individuals and rippling into the future. The stories of today alter the lives of future generations. An organization that strives to support people as they navigate stories of great risk and ultimate possibility is the Minnesota Interfaith Coalition on Immigration. The mission of ICOM is to engage in courageous, spiritual, multicultural action in solidarity with immigrants and refugees to achieve justice and to stand up to systems of oppression. The coalition works to ensure the accompanied clients, people detained or seeking asylum, they have the resources and support they need and work to advocate for changes in laws and policies. Would the ushers please come forward? Unity Church's values, mission, and ends encourage us to courageous action and to understand the intersectionality and connection that we have with each other. Please give as generously as you are able. The larger portion of this offering will support ICOM's team of workers who accompany asylum-seeking families.
Kingfisher, kestrel, and magpie are all older now. They are comfortable with each other in ways that they weren't when magpie was growing up. But they still learn from one another. Just as with any other relationship, they need to put in the work to maintain it. The expectation that they will love each other, be there for each other, push each other, and work through problems together is part of the balance that Kingfisher and Kestrel taught Magpie as they raised her. They talked together about things that happened when Magpie was young, of the joys and sorrows they went through together, of things that happened to Kestrel and Kingfisher before they met and had Magpie, stories of their own parents. We share stories with each other to become closer. We talk about our experiences, what we've gained, what we learned, what we've reflected upon. I look out today and see a forest. Did you know that the trees talk to one another, help each other?
Let's grow fathers from pine, coniferous fathers raising us in their shade, fathers soft enough to bend, fathers who love us like their fathers couldn't.
The forest that we have together, it's not just pine, it's oak, it's spruce, it's eucalyptus, it's ginkgo. There's so many different types of people amongst us today, and different types of fatherhood.
Let's fashion gentle fathers, expressive, holding us how we wanted to be held before we could ask, singing off-key lullabies written for us, songs every evening like possibilities.
And when you feel like you can't see the forest for the trees, reach out to a father, to a mother, to a child, to someone who holds no title for you, but could. Tell each other to check this out, and I'm scared, and I'm sorry, and I don't know.
Let's discover fathers as varied and vast as the superior forest.
How many people do you think our community contains if we each hold a multitude within us? Of all of the different types of fatherhood there are, Kingfisher is only one of many. He learned how to interact with his child through trial and error. He found nurturing within this relationship, but he did not nurture within a vacuum. He had people that nurtured him and fathered him, even when he felt he did not have a father himself.
Let's create folklore side by side in a garden, singing psalms about abiding, being steadfast, present, evergreen, and ethereal.
Creating multifaceted people is not an overnight task. To build something that lasts takes patience and intention. We find ourselves within others, reflected back in our actions and our attitudes. Perhaps you saw yourself in one of the stories from today. Perhaps you didn't. Perhaps you would like to be the one that creates this new folklore.
Give us fathers strong enough to admit they want to be near us. They've always wanted to be near us. Give us fathers desperate for something different.
I trust that what we build within our forest is somewhere soft for everyone to rest upon. I think we come to Unity because we are looking for a place to roost, to share stories amongst others, and to hear theirs in return. Thank you all for being present while we share our stories. And to Kingfisher, happy Father's Day. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, whose words are found within your order of service.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Ahmed Anzaldúa. I'm Director of Music Ministries here at the church. And today I'm going to teach you the closing hymn, in case you don't know it. I didn't know who to credit it to. I don't know who came up with this song. I know it from folks that work in housing justice, actually, and like fighting evictions and making human sort of blockades. But the words do speak to me about what I want to be like as a father myself. So here's the tune. Just sing back what I sing. And so it goes, solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. All right, let's see if we can do a little bit of harmony. So let's see, sopranos and basses. Raise your hand. Where are my sopranos and my basses? You're on the melody, so you get to sing what we just sang. You ready? And 1, 2, 3, and. Solid as a rock, standing, oh my God, it's back and forth. My bad. So it's solid as a rock. Your turn. Rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. All right, sopranos and basses, hold on to that melody. Where are my altos? Raise your hand. Altos, nice and high. All right, so you go. Here we go. Solid as a rock. Well, you would do it down there. Solid as a rock, right? I'm just doing it in your range. Let's try it again. And solid as a rock. Rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Yeah, that's too low for me. That should be too low for you, altos. And where are my tenors? Tenors, raise your hand. Mm-hmm. You sounded like tenors. Nice job. All right, so you would go, solid. Oh, solid. I'm trying to do it up there. Why am I trying to do it up there? I'm a tenor. Okay, solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Okay, so if that's stuck in your head, great. If not, try it and you'll find it, and otherwise sing the melody. Let's sing it a few times. I'd like you to clap on 2 and 4 with me. Ready? And here we go. Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Can you clap a little bit louder, please? With a little bit more enthusiasm? Okay, and solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Try some harmony. Solid as a rock, standing like a tree. Oh, I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. In my rightful place. In my rightful place. In my rightful place. All right. Do you know the song? No. Is it stuck in your head? Yes. Yes. perhaps next time you're out there somewhere trying to stand in one place while someone is trying to move you along or get you to disperse, you might have something to sing, right? Yes, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Please remain standing and join with me as we read together the words found in your order of service for the extinguishing of the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the warmth of love, light of truth. Did I put the wrong words in? I am sorry. Let me look at my actual words of service. It's not even there. I will say them. We extinguish this flame, but not the warmth of love or light of truth, those we carry with us until we are together again. Thank you all. I hope that this was a time that we could merge together a little bit. Fathering is a process and a practice. It is both a team and an individual sport. The stories I've told can only contain as much as you find useful within them. So work towards becoming evergreen and ethereal.